Oh, hello there, people. Oh, this is not what we all thought it was going to be. We all thought it was going to be a Ron and Brian podcast. Oh, no, 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 no. It's going to be a Brian podcast. Don't go anywhere.
It's time for the Ron and Brian podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
Oh, no, Brian. No, Ron. It is just me. And who am I, you may ask? Who am I, you may ask? That's correct, people. I am the champion. Oh, that's right, JoJo. JoJo already off to a good start. Boom. Brian's in the closet. That's right, Brian's in the closet. So we will be testing out the home studio, I believe is what it's called. But first off, just a reminder, people, of what we're all doing here. This is the belt. You're looking at a picture right there. I'm holding it. 6 pounds of gold and leather and fine American craftsmanship have all led us to this place. It is October 29th that we are doing this episode. I am Brian. And what are we doing here? We're going to say that we're doing a podcast. So we're starting off here, folks, with the only way that we can properly start. Let's get rid of this slideshow. And we're first going to explain, where could Ron be? Where in the world is Ron? What's this over here? We're looking. Oh, yeah, right off the bat, just a little sneak peek of where I am. You're looking at what I believe is the air conditioning unit that is right behind me. You know, we're doing a little industrial here. Ron likes to show off his office, but this is Brian's spot. This is where I like to do my show. So we're going to start off with drink of the week, which really, when you think about it, is the most important part of the show because it gets you
drink of the week.
Good.
Na zdrowie.
Salud.
Drink of the week.
Crunch it.
Pause.
Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week.
That's
Drink
right.
of the
we're not
week.
stalling. Drink of the week. What are we doing? Just repeating this?
Na
This is just
zdrowie.
Who wants to watch 2 hours of this one video, this
Drink
one
of the week.
audio just going on? Oh. Turning it off. Oh, Ron. See, this is what we're talking about, people. Ron, for those who are watching, Ron has left the country. Ron is on vacation. Ron has decided that he does not want to do this show this week. Really should have brought a sweat towel for those who can see. There's no air conditioning in this room, I'm just realizing, which could really put a dampen on the ability for me to do this show. What am I drinking? It's still Oktoberfest, people. It's October 29th. So I am working on my last of the Great Oktoberfest beers. We're working off of a Great Lakes Oktoberfest. And you may say, Brian, what is a Great Lakes Oktoberfest? And without giving any inclination that I'm reading this off the internet, it's a German style beer. It is a celebration of maltiness. So you're going to have a lot of maltiness. You're asking, Brian, what's this look like? Oh, look at that amber color. It is just a beautiful. This, if you wanted to know, people, this is my personal amber alert of the week. It's this beer. It's packed with rustic autumnal flavors to put a little more oomph into your papa. Uber smooth with vibrant malt flavors and a festive flourish of noble hops. Lederhosen not included. This has a 4-time medal winner, having won gold twice, silver twice, coming from Ohio, United States. We all know nothing great comes from Ohio. Ohio's a garbage state. However, except Great Lakes Brewing Company, our friends who have decided their Oktoberfest. Listen, people, according to Beer Advocate, this has got a score of 90, which is considered outstanding. An ABV of 6.5%. That's pretty damn good if you're asking me. Let's see. Let's do a little ASMR. Let's see what does this sound like when Brian takes a sip. Was that too much noise, people? I hope that wasn't. I really hope that you can really get a sip here. Let's try this again. Ah, yeah. Oh, not good. Uh, okay. Um, that tasted like I was just eating garbage. Um, ooh, fuck. All right, I'm going to start cooling off soon. People, it's October 29th. That's drink of the week. I don't know what you think. Not my favorite drink of the week. I'm going to pound this beer. There'll be more during this episode. We're going to be here for a while. There's no after dark. There's no Ron, so therefore there's no after dark. It's just going to be us. It's you. It's me. It's everybody that you invited. One thing I'm going to ask people to do this week is if you're watching right now, do me a favor. Oh, Christ. Joe is already saying this has got to stop. Oh, no, 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 no. We're only 6.5 minutes into this. At minimum, we're getting an hour. At minimum. Okay. So, drink of the week, we've already done it. Let's take off this banner because we don't need it anymore. However, you're going to sit there and say, oh, geez, you know, Brian, I really appreciate the fact that on your Sunday evening, you set aside time to spend with us. And how can we help you? And there's one way right here. Look at this ticker right down below. Become a patron. Many people are familiar with the website patreon.com. Here, let's get this camera ready. Patreon.com. It is a website where content creators like myself, not Ron this week, puts aside some exclusive material that only goes behind the paywall. It is for people who are, want to support a content creator like myself. Go to Ron and Brian podcast. Go to ronandbrianpodcast.com, people. It's gonna be a long show. I'm not even drinking yet, and I'm singing to myself in a room all alone. This might be the best part of my life because I'm staring at white walls and an AC unit. Anyway, yes, I might be a little crazy. You know, one thing that's a little dangerous is when you leave me alone. Oh no, my signal isn't great. Wonder what's going on here. I did bring a special extension. Please feel free to complain. But we're rolling this. Yes, Allie, that's right. Blame Ron. Blame Ron for the fact that we are not doing a special pajama party, which was something we do on the show. But you're going to ask yourself, all right, what do we have? It's already 9:08. We're 8 minutes into this show. We're going to be doing a counter as we go through this because there's going to be some exciting things. You're asking, what do we have lined up for later on in this show? What is the content that we should stick around for? Okay. These are the stories that I've got lined up. Just a little header. We're going to be talking about Matthew Perry, the Friends actor. Apparently, he died this weekend. We're also going to be talking about what happens when airline pilots dabble in psychedelic mushrooms. We're going to be doing drag queens are the problem. They're not, people. We're going to be talking about our federal court system still bending over backwards and taking it up the rectum by the far religious right, who just recently won a very bizarre legal case having to do with abortion. We're also going to be talking about sugar daddies bringing their sugar babies to you too in Las Vegas. The do's and don'ts. If you are a worker in a beer factory, still drinking, people, there's one thing that you should not be doing above everything else that we will be discussing later. We also have a viral story that went across the internet this week. Where not should a first date take place? A lot of women online this week were listing places that they would not go on a first date. We've got that list. Also, reasons to be careful about bottles of water in your hotel. We've got And then it gets a little weird. So if you're in a room with children under the age of 18, the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is go to YouTube or Facebook, like this video, leave a comment, tell your friends, then cover your children's ears because they may not be prepared for the kind of stuff we're going to talk about later. There's a married man who tried to hire a lady of the evening to participate in some group activities with his miniature horse. But we're going to do it clean because this is on YouTube. So we're going to talk about that story in a clean manner. We also are going to talk about a woman online who is selling her armpit hair. We're going to talk about things in the office that make people uncomfortable, specifically having to do with breast milk. We are going to be talking about a woman who has gone to bed with over 300 people this past year. And we're going to be talking about what to do when you hear somebody screaming help from inside the chimney of an apartment building. Really, really good stuff. However, hold on a second. What is Ron doing here? Aw, buddy, you just couldn't trust me to do this show alone. I love that. You missed me. And that means a lot. But first off, what we're going to do before we get into any topics, is we are going to deal with the elephant in the room, which is Ron has basically, hold on, just opening this door so we can get a little bit more air circulation because it's starting to get uncomfortable in this room. We're going to have to put a fan together or something. Anywho, Ron is the partner that he's my life partner. He and I are in respective relationships with females. However, one of the things that he and I have both acknowledged is just that, our souls are forever linked. We've been doing this show for the past 37 years. Every Sunday talking to him, it has basically saved me from when I was most suicidal. It has saved me from when I wanted to give up. And that is who Ron is to me. But most importantly, Ron's not here this week. He went on vacation. Cheers to you. Look at this lovely shot glass filled with Jack Daniels. We will be discussing where you can get one of these lovely shot glasses. Look at that beautiful, beautiful shot glass. Lovely sip of Jack Daniels. Oh, not prepared for that. However, a couple weeks ago, I was on vacation. I decided that I was going to skip over the pond, as they like to say, visit the motherland, Great Britain, specifically England, more specifically the city of London, where it all started, where we're all from. I believe it was probably in about 76 BC when humankind first landed on Earth. And where did they go? First place they went, London. Why? Because everybody wants to see the Eiffel Tower. They all want to go to London and see some of the beautiful sights. That's where humanity started. They went right there. Then, and because he's my true love partner, in a non-sexual way, Ron took on the challenge and said, you know what, I'm going to do the show all by myself. A lot of people who have been talking about that episode, there were a lot of views, a lot of likes, a lot of people chatting. But there was a lot of people who didn't seem happy with that episode. A lot of grumbling about how Ron seemed to pad the episode with videos from other episodes, from videos from the internet. I didn't want to hear that talk. I don't believe in bashing. Don't bash people. There's too much negativity in the world, and we need to make the world a little bit better. So what are we going to do? We are going to sit there and say, you know what? Because Ron's not here, because Ron is in Acapulco allegedly buying up property, waterfront property from people who have just recently had their homes devastated by Hurricane Otis. Ron sat there and said that he was going to go and scoop up property from people who have been devastated, and that he was going to hold that property, flip it in a few years from now, make massive profits. A lot of people say ethically that there is an issue with that kind of behavior. Ron doesn't seem to have a problem with that. That's not his thing. I remember, he once we once were going for matching tattoos. I was going to get to get a tattoo. It was going to be Martin Luther King riding a lion over Washington, holding onto the lion's mane. It was just going to be beautiful. Underneath it, it was going to say, "I have a dream." While I was having that tattooed on my back, Ron was on the was laying down on the table next to me. I thought we were getting matching tattoos. And when I looked, he had an entire piece in a circle that said, "Profit by any means necessary." And he had a photo of Malcolm X, but Malcolm X was waving $100 bills. I felt it was gross. It was not in light. It wasn't in line with the way Malcolm X wanted it to be remembered. He stood up, for injustices. And Ron was sitting there simply trying to brag about how profit over all costs is his way of life. We're not living like that. That's not who we are. However, he's not here, but let's not dwell on the fact that Ron's not here. I think what we need to do is talk about what's going on in the world. Before we do that, I do want to acknowledge that there are some topics that we will not be discussing this week. One of the things that Ron did before he left, he sent me a list of things that he has officially banned us from talking about. And because I am a compassionate champion, hold on. Oh yeah, the champion. I will respect Ron's list. I'm going to respect the fact that there are topics that he doesn't want. So what are the topics? What are the things that Ron won't let us talk about? Number one on that list is the new Speaker of the House. Ron feels that what's going on in Washington is more important than life itself. He is a strong proponent of the Freedom Caucus. I believe that he is a card-carrying member of the Matt Gaetz Appreciation Society. He has sent numerous naked photos of himself to Lauren Boebert. Most of them are featuring Ron holding an AR-47 or an AK-15. I don't know guns, people. It's not my thing. So we're not going to talk about the new Speaker of the House. Ron said, please save that. I want to talk about that next week. And you know what? I'm going to respect that. What else? What were the other subjects you're going to say, Brian? Because we need to discuss it. What are the other things that Ron said? This is where it's going to get a little tricky. We can't talk about the new Britney Spears book, which I think is not necessarily the right way to handle it. Ron said that that is going to be his reading while he is on vacation. He and the wife are going to be reading sections aloud to each other. Oh yeah, we're going to get to it. No. He won't. We're not at beef for the week yet. We will get to that. We're here for the long ride, people. This is when Ron does the show, he does like he speeds through it because he wants it to be over. No, people. This is going to be quantity of minutes over quality, as a lot of people like to say. So we're not allowed to talk about the Britney Spears book. We all remember how Ron shaved his head back in 2004 when Britney shaved hers. I even think at some point Ron divorced Kevin Federline, which seemed a bit odd because they were not married. But I do believe Ron went to Las Vegas and filed annulment paperwork. We're also not allowed to talk about the Philadelphia Phillies being eliminated from the baseball playoffs by the Arizona Diamondbacks. Ron, normally one would have thought Ron is a Yankees fan. Ron has several pieces of Yankees memorabilia in his home. He has, attended many Yankee games himself, never spoke highly of the Phillies until the playoff run this year when everybody was suddenly in line with the Philadelphia Phillies, and Ron started screaming, "Red October." Unfortunately, the Phillies were eliminated earlier this week. Ron got very sad, and rumor has it that Ron has decided to leave the country because he just cannot handle the World Series without his beloved Philadelphia Phillies in it. Where are we going to go from there? We're also not allowed to talk about NBA star Dwight Howard. Ron said that the sexual assault and battery claims against him, something Ron wants to talk about. Apparently, Ron has some personal experience with alleged sexual battery claims against him. Ron wants to give a first person perspective of what it's like to be charged with sexual assault and battery. Dwight Howard recently, this past week, a man stepped forward and said that he was contacted by Dwight Howard and to meet up for a threesome. And when they met up, it was just Dwight Howard, and Dwight Howard made the moves on this guy. And apparently did a little touching south of the border. But you know what? I'm not allowed to talk about it. Number 5, don't worry, people. There's only 8 things on this list Ron wouldn't let me talk about. And see, people, this is why you don't want him as your champion. Imagine how long this list would be if Ron were your 51% champion of the podcast. We're not allowed to talk about the Taylor Swift Eras Tour movie. Ron and his wife went to see it for, I believe, the 8th time this week. Ron has decided to tattoo 13 all over his body. It's kind of like Tekashi 6ix9ine had that gigantic 6ix9ine. Ron fled the country this week. I believe he was in Vietnam getting a 13 tattooed on his face. He said, we're not allowed to talk about the Eras movie. If Taylor Swift does come up while we're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs later, we can do that. Ron also said we're not allowed to talk about hair club for men, or how is it that a 52-year-old man still has a full head of jet brown hair with not a single gray. I don't know. I'm not saying there's anything wrong about that, but he said no talking about the hair club for men or Cy Sterling. Ron also said no talking about cooking oils. I said that I had a really long bit. My beef of the week was going to be about my experience with olive oil. Ron saw that on my list and said, absolutely not. No talking about cooking oils. Last but not least, we are not allowed to talk about furries. Okay. I don't think I can even acknowledge why we can't talk about furries. But I think it's time for us to do beef of the week, which is a bit that we do each week. And here we go.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
All right. What is my beef of the week? I had quite a few this week, one being Ron, but that's a side subject. My beef of the week right now is the staff at the Hertz office in the Newport Mall in Jersey City. I know right off the bat, you people are going to sit there and be like, Brian, you need to rent from Enterprise when you're renting a vehicle. Do not rent from Hertz. You need to go to Alamo. You need to go to Budget Rent-A-Car. You need to go to Zipcar. No. Hertz. This is a Hertz family over here, people. So this past weekend, we were making the... Oh, yeah, Ron, you have jet brown hair. We know you do. Don't deny that. Earlier this weekend, I had made plans to go up to Boston to visit my sister and her family. And due to certain benefits that I have as the 51% owner of this podcast, let me hold up the belt one more fucking time because I'm the champion. That's right, people. I'm the champion. I have worn this belt out in public to a wrestling event. And there's photo proof somewhere. Anywho, so all right, one thing about me, and I know this is the beef of the week, but I'm about to take a hit right here. Right off the bat, here we go. You need to stay away from that mall. I know. The AMC at that mall, rat infested. They had to shut it down several days. But I was going into the parking lot where the Hertz was. So the lady and I, we rent a car, and we are all set to go pick up that car. I show up after work on Friday. I get out of work. I go right across town. I take the PATH train out, end up at Newport, walk over, go right to the office, and I see that the shutters are down and the door is open and there's two people in the office. So I just, kind of wave to them. text my girlfriend. I'm like, hey, are you, what's your ETA? I guess is what those kids call it. What is your ETA? So she says, oh, I'm 5 minutes away. So I stand there kind of leaning back into the office to say, hey to the people, kind of give them a heads up that we're showing up. And I see the woman who was in the office putting on her jacket, which is never a good sign. Never a good sign, people. She's putting on her jacket. The gentleman that's in there stands up and goes to put some keys on a board up there. So I said, hey, we have a reservation to pick up a car. At which point the lady in the things just started screaming out, Allie, this will be an over, absolute over. The lady just screamed out, we close at 5 o'clock. Literally screamed at me that they close at 5 o'clock, which kind of hurt my feelings. Because at no point did she say, well, we're up. Oh, excuse me, sir, we're closed. So I said to this woman, oh, excuse me, please. Can you, do you mind staying around? My girlfriend is literally like 2 minutes away in an Uber. We've got a car. She looked at me and she said, is she a presidential gold club, blue diamond, jackpot, Excalibur member? I said, of course she is. I don't know. She might not be. And at that point, this woman said, where is she? How many minutes is she? At which point I said 2. Keep in mind, I don't know that was necessarily the truth. I believe my girlfriend said that she was 5 minutes away, but I said 2, just to fuck with the lady because I needed her to stay there. I can't help it, people. I had to lie to her. At which point this woman said, we're not waiting, and then slammed the door in my face and went back into the office. I knocked on the door a few times. She then turned to me and screamed. You could see she was screaming at me. It looked like this. I don't know what I did to piss this lady off. At which point I then called my girlfriend to say, we have a problem. I do not believe we're going to be able to rent a car here. While I'm on the phone with the girlfriend, literally could not have been on the phone for more than a minute or two, the woman and the man in the office come out of the office, close the door. You could see the lights are off in the office. I said, excuse me, is there any way you can stay late? I even said, I'll give you $100. Like, that's how desperate I was. I said, I'll give you $100. Now, keep in mind, people, I didn't have $100 on me. I was going to deal with that issue if she had said, okay, give me the $100. But literally, I was just like, I'll pay $100 if you stick around. And then she was like, no, we close at 5. And then she just storms off. Oh yes, we had the reservation in that was made at least 2 weeks in advance. Once again, the people at Hertz, terrible customer service. They could go fuck themselves. Hertz has never been the same since OJ stopped being their spokesperson. So I guess what you're saying, Mary, is that the Hertz was a better company when OJ was their spokesperson. I think we all know OJ did it, right? I mean, is there anybody? I wonder what person. I would love to speak to a person right now who thinks that OJ is innocent. There has to be. I know I've heard some conspiracy theories that OJ's son did it. I don't remember his name. We'll just call him Theodore. Theodore Simpson. I know there are rumors that the son, because he had some anger issues, and he was actually arrested for something having to do with possession of some knives. So a lot of people are thinking that the son might have done it, but I'm pretty sure OJ did it. Terrible beer. Great Lakes, people. For those people who are interested in an Oktoberfest for the next few days, Great Lakes is not a good. This is the worst of all Oktoberfest beers that I've had. So then here we go. Billy, how does a rental car place close at 5? Don't people drive after 5? Well, not only that, but you're looking at, oh yeah, he killed her. Well, you're also, this is the part that really is maddening. Not only were they just openly rude and yelled at me when I was clearly just trying to, rent a car from them, but it was the fact of what type of car rental place closes at 5. It's a major metropolitan area. You are minutes away from Manhattan. There are people that need to work. It is a Friday. People are working till 5 o'clock. Why on earth would you close at 5 o'clock? That does not give any time for people to finish their work day and then travel to the Newport Mall parking lot to rent their car. Completely unjustified. And that is why I will never rent a car again from Hertz. We are now going to close out Beef of the Week. That's right, people. We are at the 30-minute mark of this podcast. This has been a great show so far. What I like about it is that there's not Ron here to speed me along, to sit there and say your stories are going in a direction that is starting to ramble. Allie's going to make some comments. I believe she has already slid into that role of being the countdown police. Maybe it's probably possible Ron has asked her and said, "Hey, Allie, I'm going to be gone on Sunday. Can you please make sure that Brian keeps the show going along?" I'm just warming up, Allie. We're my record's an hour and 40. And Billy can attest to it. 1 hour 40. No, Janelle, we didn't get the car because they were closed. By the time my girlfriend showed up, the two people had already gotten in their cars and driven off. What we had to do was we called the Hertz because my girlfriend was indeed a signature gold platinum titanium level executive jet packing streamliner club member. Apparently we get a good deal. I love the fact that Ron is still commenting on the podcast. He's on vacation, people, and yet on his vacation, the one activity that he's doing on his first day of vacation, he's sitting there watching the show. Love it. Titanium taint. That's right. Never forget, people, the time I had to miss the episode because I had to have my titanium taint installed. So what we had to do was we took an Uber down to the nearest Hertz that did have a car available. You're going to say, where is that Hertz? Oh, I'll tell you, people, where that Hertz was. Newark Airport. That's right. On a Friday at 5:45, we are calling an Uber to go down to Newark Airport to pick up a I don't even remember what kind of car we got. I was going to say, I know we were trying for an electronic vehicle, but I'm going to tell you, at 6:00 on a Friday, when you have like a 4 or 5 hour drive ahead of you, it's kind of rough. You'll take anything at that point. So what we did do was we stepped up our game. We jumped into a car at Newark Airport and we drove. We got up to Boston. I think it was around 1:00. We did stop off at a rest stop for some, I think we got Shake Shack for dinner, which is pretty disgusting. All right, here's a rant for all those people who are wondering, what happened to the quality of American food? I remember when Shake Shack first kind of hit the New York area, it was considered elite. I remember the line at the Shake Shack in, what was that park on 42nd? Madison Park on 5th and 23rd. There was a line throughout the park for people to eat pressed burgers on a potato roll with some McDonald's Big Mac sauce. That's right, overrated. So what we did was so at the rest stop we stopped off at Shake Shack, and it was completely salty. It was practically unedible. The fries were drenched in salt. It was almost just like I took my tongue, lifted Ron's balls, and just licked up a little bit, and it was like a salt lick. It literally was just like a solid piece of it was just like a solid piece of salt. It was inedible. American food. I remember, like, nowadays, like, if you just list the places, we'll talk about it later in the bit where we're going to talk about first dates that we don't go to. I remember Applebee's used to be a solid Saturday night option. I'm not talking about fancy. I'm not saying you're going to take, your partner's parents to impress them, but you could go get a legit burger at an Applebee's. Chili's was always cool. I remember I used to really dig Ruby Tuesdays. Was it Ruby Tuesdays the one that had the salad bar where you could go to the salad and then you could wait for your plate? I think I like the Ruby Tuesday. That's all. They're all trash now. I took the lady recently to an Outback because she had never been to an Outback before. One of the joys of dating somebody who's from another country is that you really get to see your experience from new eyes. She said, "Oh, I've never been to an Outback before." So I was like, "I'll take you an Outback. Come on, we can do an Outback." Literally just sat there. It was like, This is an Outback. This I don't understand. The we got a steak, awful. Just it was just covered in salt, covered in pepper. I didn't get a steak au poivre as Ron does because he's a fancy little biatch. Um, but it was just like everything that used to be like middle class fancy, the Applebee's, the Chili's, the Olive Gardens, um, everything just it's all they're all places that have just become shit. They're the kind of places where I think high school kids would go to impress each other. And it's kind of sad because I feel like we used to have moderately priced food options in this country where you could still get some quality. Now they're all you're goddamn right, Jojo. We got her a bloomin' onion. The first one that she ripped off and dipped into the sauce and ate was just like I think she said it was interesting. Did a second one, literally within like 3 minutes or so, she was just like, "Okay, I'm done," and pushed it across. That's right. We're doing 3D effects here, people. Outback sucks. Red Lobster. I haven't been to a Red Lobster in a while. So, eventually, I will have to go to one, and I do not think it's going to be good. So that's a shame. That is a damn shame. That's my beef of the week, people. I think we clocked in around 10 minutes or so. Apparently, hold on. William wants an invite. Only Billy would want an invite to garbage places. Come on, William. We can do better than that. There you go. There are decent Jersey middle class places. We are going to find out what they are. Apparently, they're awful. Oh, and Olive Garden. Ian Higgins. Come on, buddy. Higgy, you can't like the Olive Garden. Though, here was a funny story. A couple months ago, I was at work. We were talking to some people, and we were just trashing Olive Garden. And the thing about Olive Garden is the fact that it's considered Italian food. If your food is going to come in a plastic bag out of the freezer and be put into a microwave, that's what they consider Italian food. However, you get somebody who's from New York or where they actually have an Italian restaurant, and you'll realize just how much garbage it is. So a bunch of us in the office were sitting there trashing the Olive Garden, talking about just how terrible it is. I had a recent experience where we went there as a goof, and yeah, exactly, Italian food, right? Question mark. So I decided to order a glass of red wine. So the waiter was probably about 17 or so. I just felt like being a dick because I could. So I just said to him, I said, the house red, is that a Cabernet or is that a Pinot Noir? And he looked at me like I had just said something was just in a completely different language. And he looked at me and he just said to me, it comes in a box, which I knew it came in a box. Why? Because I've been to one before and I got the box wine. And not all box wine is terrible, people. You could do decent on a box wine, but you got to know what you're getting. So I said, I'll have a glass of your house red. And he said to me, do you want a half glass or do you want a whole glass? I'm thinking to myself, it's 1:00 in the afternoon on a Thursday. Yeah, I'm going to have the whole glass. Now I said, I'll have a whole glass. Now I'm thinking, when you go to a fancy place, you get like a fucking goblet and a half of a glass because you want the wine to breathe, and then they pour you like this small amount of wine because they want to make money. So I said, I'll have the whole glass. It's going to be good. This kid came out with a wine glass that was about yay tall, filled to the fucking rim. I lost my shit. There is absolutely no self-respecting Italian restaurant that is going to serve you a full glass of red wine filled to the top. The rest of the food, it's all salt, it's all butter, it's completely unhealthy. It's just going to, it's going to kill us all. I mean, then you wonder, let's face it. I'm going to say, to admit, that Ron and I have not done a very good job of promoting this podcast in the middle America. We are very much, if you look at the demographics of the listeners of this show, we are very much, coastal, audience. People on the East Coast love us. People on the West Coast love us. Nebraska, the Oklahomas, the Montanas, the Ohios, the Wisconsin. I love Ron not being here to cut me off. God damn, this feels good. So it's just garbage food. It's absolutely garbage food. But one of the things that we like to do here, good times, great salad, Olive Garden. That's what they say. Not true. Not true at all. I think should we hit some of the stories that we have? I feel like I've got like 15 stories to talk about. And what are we going to do? All right. I think there's only one story we're going to start off with. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, we have lost the first member of the Friends cast. Over the weekend, news reports from California came out that Matthew Perry, who played the famous character Chandler Bing, don't tell me I don't know my friends. He passed away at his home yesterday, which would have been Saturday afternoon. Apparently, he was in his jacuzzi and drowned in his jacuzzi. Now, I don't know about many jacuzzis here, and I'm certainly not going to start any conspiracy theories. But I've been in jacuzzis, and it takes a lot to drown. He was probably, I mean, you got to be unconscious to slide down into a jacuzzi and drown. Terrible way to die, I would imagine. Dying in your jacuzzi at home. Scratch that. Hold on, let me think about that a little bit more. And I'm going to say I think that's a terrific way to die. You're in your jacuzzi. You're looking out in the Los Angeles mountains. You're looking at the city, and then you close your eyes and it's gone. Yeah. Hold on, Janelle. This is not the same. You cannot compare Whitney Houston dying, sinking into a drug-induced bathtub while she is preparing to perform a song at the what was it? Was it the Beverly Hills, the Hilton? Wasn't it the Beverly Hills Hilton that she died while she was supposed to be doing a pre-Grammy song? And I remember from what I read, she had been working in the rehearsals that day and just sounded god awful. So we are going to say that Whitney Houston did not have a very good death. And I even remember, weren't there photos that were taken of her hotel room after she passed away? And you could just see everywhere that there was drug paraphernalia all over the place, which I think was just kind of sad and sketchy. But I remember there was pills, there was booze, and that was just it's a sad way to go. Matthew Perry, on the other hand, I'm gonna rethink my strategy. I started off this show, I was gonna say Matthew Perry died tragically, but closing your eyes in your hot tub, sliding down and just passing off this mortal coil, I could think of a lot worse ways to go. Poor guy, Matthew Perry. A lot of people were just devastated by it. I think he was only 54, according to the New York Times. He apparently had been struggling with drugs and alcohol for most of his adult life. I know for a fact that he had just recently, probably within the past 12 months, he had written a memoir and released it, which was somewhat controversial, if I remember correctly. I think he made some kind of comments about wanting some people to die or regretting that people had died and wished that it was someone else. It was just a terrible way to go. Not the way he actually died, but writing a bitter memoir right before you had a chance to just go quietly. I'm trying to think whether it would make sense for me to write a memoir. Not really sure I have that. I think my words here are just kind of rambling. And Allie, you can confirm that on the side. However, I think that my talent really lies here in a live format. Not really sure I'm meant to write a memoir, but he wrote a memoir. He made some money. I think I downloaded it illegally. Never got around to reading it. And I'm going to say this to you. I absolutely am not going to read it. Apparently, Mary Elizabeth says he had a serious addiction to pills. And can we point out that Keith Morrison is his stepdad? And will he narrate Matthew's 48-hour episode? Oh, Keith Morrison. Why did I immediately think of Keith Moon when you said that was his stepdad? Keith Morrison is the guy who does 48 Hours. looks like the death, like the Crypt Creeper, who is alive. People all over the internet from social media this past weekend were everybody it seemed were just shocked that Matthew Perry had died. Listen, he had publicly struggled with drinking and drug use for decades, public hospitalizations, whatnot. I didn't think it was that shocking that he died. But I will say, when you look at what he had accomplished, that was the thing. In his memoir, I remember the big thing he said was that there are entire seasons of Friends that he has no memory of having done. And if that was just the idea of the extent of the drug and alcohol problems that he had, that he was existing for years where he basically was operating on blackout. Wow. I hope I hope that he died clean and his body just gave out. We'll never know. But Friends ran for 10 years, people, from 1994 to 2004. So when Mohammed Atta ran American Airlines 11 into the North Tower, little did he know at the time that there were still 3 more full seasons of Friends that he was not going to get to see. Kind of wonder if maybe that is why Muhammad Atta signed up to be a suicide bomber. He wasn't really a bomb. I guess you can consider the airplane a bomb on 9/11 for Al Qaeda. Was, maybe he felt that show should have ended after season 6. And when he saw that they announced season 7 in 2001, I wonder if Muhammad Atta said, okay, that's it. Can't do this anymore, people. I can't. This is just too much. This is too much for me. Chandler must go. Hold on. I'm going to bring back the photo and see if I can name the six people. Okay, there's 6 characters here. I don't believe I watched more than 5 minutes of any episode of Friends. I know that Lisa Kudrow is on the right. I know her character name was Phoebe. I know the guy next to her, his first name is Matt. By the way, no spoilers here. By the way, people, for those who are listening to the audio format of this, I've got a photo of the cast of Friends on the screen. So we're gonna try to, you can never replace Ron visually, audio wise. You can replace him. But we're going. So I want to say Matt Bianco, but I don't believe that's his name. Matt LeBlanc. Fuck you, people. That is Matt LeBlanc, and I don't know the character that he named. I want to say his name was Tony, but I don't believe that was his name. Matt LeBlanc on Friends. Next to him was Courtney Cox, and she was. I also don't know. I know then you got David Schwimmer, who was Ross. I know that. Apparently, at some point in the show, he got a monkey because that was going to save the ratings. Just see, this is where it just gets so fucking bad. Just the very idea that a sitcom cannot sit there and say that we've run out of ideas and we're just going to kind of move on as an entertainment company, that they're going to sit there, that the fucking idiots in Hollywood are going to sit there and say, hey, you know what, Friends, we've exhausted all. Excuse me, we have not exhausted all the ideas. Let's get a fucking monkey and let's get a monkey on this goddamn show. And then we're going to have some episodes that revolve around a monkey. So David Schwimmer played Ross. We know that. Then also moving right to left, because we are all following the Hebrew reading method of going right to left. You've got Jennifer Aniston. I believe she played Rachel. Hold on. Allie's going to jumps in that the monkey was in the very beginning of season 1. Didn't know. Had no idea. I thought the monkey was added on in season 5. We know that Matthew Perry starred as Chandler Bing. Ironically, people, Matthew Perry was not related to Luke Perry, who passed away also recently of a unrelated disease. So if your last name is Perry and you are in the entertainment industry, I'm going to say go to the doctor, get yourself checked out. What are the other famous Perrys? There's Lee. Was it Lee Scott Perry, the famous dub musician? There's a wrestler, Perry, Jack Perry, I believe his name is, William Ken. What was I don't know Matt LeBlanc's character. I'm drawing a complete blank on that. Also, yeah, I think Luke Perry did die recently. I'm going to say within the past 2 years or so. Perry Cuomo, yes, Perry Cuomo died. Tragic, tragic. I mean, one of the things getting back to Perry Cuomo, because I think we need to discuss it. When you have a addiction to taking opioids and then climbing into the closet, similar to what I have done here, taking your pants down, masturbating furiously while you are stretching a belt around your neck, like Perry Cuomo did. It is a dangerous game. You're playing with fire here, people. It's not a game that you're going to play well. You got to be careful. Oxygen flow is incredibly important to the human body. You hate to see Perry Cuomo went. He went the same way that Keith Carradine went. And also Michael Hutchins from In Excess also died in the closet while he was hanging himself with his penis in his hand. I would have to say that of all, here we go, Lee Scotch Perry. Damn right, I knew I was right. Yeah. Steve Perry? Not from Journey, not anymore. Now they got a gentleman from the Philippines who apparently sings better and is less of a hassle when it comes to splitting the royalties. Speaking of royalties, these kids and Friends made so much fucking money. I call them kids because that's what they were. I think they were easily I think at one point they were clearing $1 million an episode, which is absolutely insane to me, to be making $1 million a week. There was Ross, Rachel, Chandler, Phoebe. I don't know the other two. If you want to give it away right now, who was Matt LeBlanc's character and who was Courtney Cox? We all know Courtney Cox was in the Scream movies, but at this point, I couldn't name the other two characters on that show. I never watched an episode. I hope my girlfriend gets home soon so she can get me a better beer, because this thing is fucking disgusting. Joey and Monica. Damn, thank you very much. Joey and Monica. Chris Aletti has joined the crowd and says Cox, because that's what he likes to talk about. Speaking of Chris Aletti, he's got some famous stories. If you ever meet Mr. Junkyard Chris Aletti, ask him to tell you his story about taking an airplane that was paid for by the federal government. It's a great story. But that's not the only story that we have this week to talk about involving airplanes. There, ladies and gentlemen, is this week's regret of the week. You're looking at a photo of Joseph Emerson. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this story. However, Joseph Emerson, he is a pilot for, I forgot what airline he is a pilot for. But earlier this week, he was flying on what is referred to as the jump seat in the cockpit of an Alaskan Airlines flight that was taking off from San Francisco. It was going between Everett, Washington, and San Francisco. First off, people, if you ever find yourself in Everett, Washington, get the fuck out and get on a plane that's going to San Francisco, because that is, and San Francisco's been having its problems lately, but nothing as bad as Everett, Washington. It's a dangerous town, people. It's a dangerous game to play. Okay, all joking aside. So Joseph Emerson. Now, apparently in the industry, airline that is, it is normal for a pilot or a member of a flight crew to fly for free in the cockpit of other airlines' flights. Why they let you into the cockpit, especially in a post 9/11 world, we will not know. So earlier this week, Joseph Emerson, who's 44, he was an off-duty commercial airline pilot, gets into the jump seat, sits down, puts his little seatbelt on. The pilot, the co-pilot sit there, turn around. They're like, "Hey, buddy, are we going to have a good flight today?" He looks at them and goes, "Neato, Captain." I believe it was Captain Under was flying that plane. I believe that it was Roger Under who was the co-pilot, and it was the chief engineer on that flight was Mickey Dunn. For those people who remember Airplane. So Joe, well, you can see this guy's not looking happy. That is a sad look on his face. So what did he do? So this guy decides in the middle of the fucking flight to stand up, lean over, and try to shut off the power to one of the engines on the plane. There were a total of 83 people on board that flight. When he decides to stand up and starts shutting off the engines on that plane. Quite ironically, Joseph Emerson was described as the consummate professional when he was a member of the NRI Flying Club, where he was actually an authorized instructor, and he had actually served in the club as the safety officer, where he promoted a culture of safety and continuous training. One of the things apparently that he was training people in is how to shut the fuck a fucking airplane engine off mid-flight. Well, thankfully, the two pilots were able to subdue him, pull him off to the side, hopefully beat the living shit out of him. They were able to drag him to the back of the plane where he was restrained for the remaining. The plane had to make an emergency landing. A lot of people after the flight were like, Joe, what the fuck were you doing? Apparently Joseph, we'll call him Joseph, sat there and said, listen, I was under the influence of some psychedelic mushrooms, which I had taken 48 hours before the flight. I thought that I was in good enough shape to take the flight, the flight, but apparently I wasn't. I was still hallucinating, and I thought that if we shut off the power, that we would be fine. So Joseph Emerson, he is going to be the Ron and Brian podcast pilot of the week, because it is very important that we know exactly who to fly. I wonder what on earth. I mean, first off, this guy's never going to fly again. I imagine he's lost his license and will never be allowed in a cockpit of a plane ever again. However, I mean, I imagine he's going to do some jail time. I really do. I mean, obviously he's not, this is not going to be considered a terrible crime. They're going to give him probably a slap on the wrist, maybe some mental health examinations. But ultimately, I think you are looking at somebody who's probably going to be living with a lot of regrets. And speaking of a lot of regrets, people, we are going to move on to our next story, which is part of our ongoing bit called the drag queens are the problem. For those people who are not familiar with the story but the drag queens are the problem. Listen, we all know that we are entering a election time. We know that next year is the presidential election, and we know that the Republicans, the conservatives, are all looking for hot button issues that they can sit there and point to and say, listen, this is where we can get votes. This is where we are going to convince people to vote for us and our agenda. One of the ways that they have targeted their audience over the past year is by pointing to drag queens who want to go to schools and read books to children. And apparently, this has got the right side of the political spectrum up in arms, because we are, we need to protect our children from drag queens more than anything else in this world. However, it seems that is not necessarily in line with the empirical evidence that you will see if you read the New York Post, because the New York Post has a lot of stories of children, minors, who are being, how do I put this politely? Who are being put into positions of uncomfortableness, not by drag queens, but by people in other professions. So, ladies and gentlemen, you currently are looking at a photo of 24-year-old Ricky Lynn Lawlin. She is a teacher at St. James High School in Phelps County, Missouri. And she was just recently charged with multiple crimes after police arrested her, saying that she exchanged illicit photos and videos with a student. She was charged with 6 crimes involving furnishing pornographic material to a minor and attempted statutory rape for her alleged behavior with this student. According to the probable cause statement, that's right, people. I do cough. I'm no better than anyone else. According to the statement, Ricky Lynn Laughlin apparently sent multiple photos to a student of hers through Snapchat, where she had reached out to them. The victim, the 16-year-old boy, said that the conversations quickly escalated to the point where Laughlin was sending him nude photos and videos of herself. She also requested that the student send her nude photos of himself on more than 2 occasions. The victim also said Laughlin tried to solicit sex from the victim. Apparently, he felt uncomfortable, told his parents. His parents went to the police officers, and despite initially denying the attempted relationship and friendship that she had with the boy over Snapchat, she did say that she didn't know that the student was a minor until after the day that she was arrested. So she is currently out on bond of $100,000, and her actual charges, this is not pretty, people. This is something Ron would be charged with: promoting obscenity, furnishing pornographic material to a minor, second-degree attempted statutory rape, tampering with a witness, tampering with physical evidence, and possession of child sexual assault materials. Whoo, that's a lot of words. So I think that's 24. Janelle's like, that's a hard 24. Yeah, that's going to be bad. That's going to be pretty rough. Janelle, you can trash the New York Post all you want. And it pretty much is trash. We're not going to deny that one. But what we are going to say is that you do get a very wide breadth of entertainment stories that you're not going to see elsewhere. New York Post really does make sure that we are going to get some doozies, I believe is the right phrase. And what do you do when you get a doozy? When you get a doozy, it's going to be it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun stuff. So what do we have here? We're going to take this down. Boom. All right. Moving on. That's it. We've already hit an hour, people. I've only done 3 stories. Oh, no. I've done 1, 2. I'm only done 3 stories. I got like 15. We may be here for another hour. This could be a record. Here we have, moving on. This story really started to really perturb me. I'm not going to spend too much onto this. Apparently, Saletti feels that doozies is not something that I should say. But speaking of doozies, the federal court system is just out of fucking control. Colorado, recently, this past week, a U.S. District Court judge in Colorado blocked a law that would have banned an abortion reversal pill in the state of Colorado, siding instead with a Catholic medical clinic that wants to keep offering the pills despite the very important fact that they are not real and do not work. In April, Colorado Democrats passed a bill that would have made offering abortion pill reversals illegal and labeled them unprofessional conduct for medical professionals. However, the Catholic Church heavily funded a medical clinic that was sponsored by the Catholic Medical Church and are currently allowed to go on and literally give out pills to women who have recently had abortions, telling them that it's not too late for them to reverse their abortion that they had, claiming that abortions are reversible. Okay. And the federal government, the federal court has sat there and said, no, they have a right to do this. One of the things I really despise about America, it's not a lot, but it's not America that I despise. It is the fact that the church has so much power in this country, and the government is so absolutely in the pocket of the church that we will bend over backwards to make sure that the church is not offended. Meanwhile, we are endangering the lives of U.S. citizens. Yes, absolutely. Words that I would second. Here, Janelle, right off the bat, she also seconds it. But to sit there and say, listen, we are going to ignore science, we are going to ignore medical evidence, we are going to sit there and say that if the Catholic Church wants to fund a medical clinic, we're going to use that in quotes, and then we're going to have them go around telling women that if you had an abortion recently, you can come to this clinic, take a pill, and your baby's going to come back to life. They're going to somehow take the fetus that is sitting in a bag in a dumpster behind the abortion clinic, and somehow this pill is going to cause that baby to basically exit that bag, go back into your uterus, attached to your uterine lining, and is going to gestate for 9 months and become a baby. And somehow we are going to allow that this type of material is going to be spread, not just physically, but people are going to believe this eventually. People are going to be like, no, you can reverse abortions because there's a clinic downtown in Boulder where they're giving me a pill that you can do so. Absolutely nonsense. Absolute nonsense. And the federal government is going to be like, well, listen, a church is saying, well, you can do this. So what are you going to? You can't do anything. You got to keep the church happy. Speaking of keeping people happy, we all know, some of us are very familiar with the website Seeking Arrangements. However, not always does that arrangement work out well. Ladies and gentlemen, you are looking at a photo of Haley McNally, who is 27. Nope, not 24. I know a lot of people thought that she was 24. Janelle's looking at her. She's like, she's 24. No, Haley is 27 years old. Recently met a man on the website Seating Arrangements who was in his 50s. And they agreed that she was going to travel to Las Vegas with he and his friends in exchange for, I believe it was $2,500 for the weekend. They were going to be staying at Caesar's Palace, which from what I'm told, not as nice as it used to be. Used to go to Vegas a lot. Not really. Went there for my 50th birthday. Would love to go again. Anyway, so Haley meets this guy on Seeking Arrangements, sits there and says, listen, I'll be your sugar baby for the weekend. Give me $2,500. Let's go to Vegas. Apparently he had bought tickets for he and his friends to go see the band U2 at the Sphere. If you've been to the Sphere yet, people, leave a comment. Let's talk about it. Apparently it's, an insane venue to see a concert. So she gets there. They spend some time in Caesar's Palace. They go up to his room, where she sees that he starts to put. Hold on a second, because they list it in the story. They see that he has put $11,700 in cash, as well as $5,200 in casino chips. He has put this amount in his hotel room safe. What she says, right as they're about to go to the concert, is, hey, is it all right if I leave my purse in the safe? I don't really trust the staff at Caesars. I feel a lot better if it's safe. He says, sure, not a problem. This is where you're going to say, he fucked up. And I agree with you. He gives her the code to his room safe rather than saying to her, okay, give me the purse, I'll put it in myself. So what happens is he gives her the code to the safe. She puts her purse. They go to see U2. He's rocking out. Maybe it was the song One that drove her away. Maybe it was one of their other songs. Who's gonna run your wild horses. I did like Achtung Baby. I really enjoyed that album. What was the one before that? Joshua Tree. I thought those were two very good albums for that band. Apparently, Allie doesn't like my singing. Oof. So during the concert, while U2 was on, Haley says to the dude, "Listen, I'm going to go to the concession stand. I'll be right back." She doesn't come right back. No, 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 no. What does Haley do? Haley gets as far out of the sphere as fast as possible, hightails it over to Caesars, gets back to their hotel room. She's captured on video camera this whole fucking time. I mean, I don't know what she's thinking, that somehow you're going to steal money out of a room in Caesars and not be caught on video. So she gets back to the hotel room, clears out the safe, and absolutely runs out. Hold up, Rattle and Hum, another good one. I think Rattle and Hum was 2 albums before. Maybe I'm wrong. Achtung Baby, did enjoy that. So she leaves. He gets back to his hotel room because his date basically bailed on him mid U2. Gets back to his hotel, sees that the safe is open and empty, immediately calls Caesar's security. They look at the videotapes. They call the police. The police immediately track her down to her apartment where the money and the casino chips are found. Haley is going to jail, where I believe she's in jail right now, and instantly regretting the fact that this is something that one does not do. One does not go to Vegas and steal fucking money. I think we all watched the movie Ocean's 11, and we all sat there and said to ourselves, hey, listen, we can make it. We can do it. Unfortunately, I don't believe that that's something you can do. That's, just because Brad Pitt and George Clooney were able to take something out and walk out with it, I don't think that that's a great idea. I don't believe that you are going to you're not going to make a lot of money doing it that way. You're just not. It's not going to happen. So I'm going to say, whatever happens here, do not think that you're going to go to you're not going to go to Vegas and you're not going to steal stuff from the casinos, because they're going to get you. They're gonna get you. They're gonna get you. And it's going to be brutal. It is going to be brutal. Anywho, so what we are going to do is we are going to say that when we do go to Vegas, what are you going to do, people? What are we listening to? We are not going to steal from our sugar daddies. Somebody wants to pay you $2,500 for you to go to Las Vegas, and they're going to pay for your ticket to go see U2. What do? Well, Crystal Lady knows what you do. You do a hand job. You don't sit there and have sex with the guy, because you know what? Your body, that's fine. Just a little rub and tug. I think it's okay. I think that Jesus would be okay if you exchange a hand job for a ticket to go see U2 at the Sphere. I think, a lot of people are doing a lot worse to go see U2 at the Sphere. Also heard good things. It's a good show. It's a fun show from what I heard. But speaking of fun, not all stories end in fun. And we're going to bring up a picture of a beer that I recently had, Tsingtao beer. It is a Chinese beer. It is, coincidentally, I had several of them when I was in London recently. We mentioned it earlier. For those people who are keeping track, we're at the 73-minute mark. Ron struggled at 58. He can argue he did a tight 58, but I'm at 74. Then it just keeps going, and we're not done yet, people. Anyway, if you've drank a Tsingtao beer lately, you may want to sit there and ask yourself, did this taste a little funny? I know myself, I've probably had about 10 of them over the weekend a couple weeks ago. Unfortunately, recently in their factory over in China, they had a slight little issue. One of their employees was videotaped urinating into into some of the raw ingredients for the beer. Apparently, they got full video of this. We're not going to show the video. Okay, I'm just going to show you a still from the video. You can't see anything here. It's not inappropriate. YouTube, do not shut us down. Apparently, this employee, he was caught on video. He's wearing his uniform. He's got his hard hat on. And he's basically walking up, opening his pants, relieving himself. This happened at the Tsingtao Brewery number 3. You may want to make sure, stay clear of that for a couple weeks. This was their factory in Pingdu, which is a big manufacturing city in China, from what I am told. And it's just very, I mean, come on, people. If you're going to pee in my beer, you better make sure that it's Bud Light that we're drinking here, because that beer tastes like just like total pee. As he wets his beak with a little water. But now we get to the story that I was really looking forward to. Oh, Chris Aletti, always bringing the standards of the podcast more, letting people know that when he is in the restroom, takes out his phone, we all know just exactly what he is watching. Let's take this down. We're going to move. We're moving forward, people. We may have hit the 76 mark on the show, but it's very important that we keep it going. We are going to move on to the next story. There was a viral story that was all over TikTok. It started off with one woman complaining about a male suitor who had taken her on a first date, or actually attempted to take her on a first date, and she was not having it. Other women duetted her video. They chimed on. They stitched it, whatever the kids are calling it nowadays. But it was other women sitting there listing places that they would never go on a first date. And it really struck a nerve of the internet this past weekend on social media. People were really chiming in. Some people were sitting there saying, hey, if a man reaches out to you and is showing interest and says this is where he wants to take you, you should be open-minded. If if you find the man attractive and personality-wise, you want to spend time, it's not important where you go. However, some of these places on this list, I don't think are that outrageous. Let's get rid of this banner so we can see the screen a little bit better. Hold on, let's take this down. Ron would have already had it down, but you know what? Ron's not here. So we're going to take it down. All right. These are a list of places that women on the internet this week said that they would not go to on a first date. And we mentioned it earlier, moderate we're talking moderate American restaurants. You're talking the Cheesecake Factory, you're talking Applebee's, Chili's, they list up Chipotle, Olive Garden. I'm going to be honest with you, numbers 1 through 5 I am absolutely in agreement with. It also depends, I think, on age. I think if you're in high school and you're in college and someone says, hey, I want to take you out on a first date, do you want to go to the local Chili's? I don't think this is so outrageous. I don't think that this is a complete deal breaker. If you're a professional woman in your 30s or 40s and someone says, hey, listen, I don't know if you recognize me, but we go to the same, church. I think, you've grabbed my eye. I would like to spend some more time with you. Would you like to go to Chipotle with me? Bad first date idea. But some of these, I think, movies. I think the movies are a terrible idea for a first date, because it basically says, hey, let's speak for a couple minutes and then sit in silence for the next hour and 40 minutes. Bad idea. Your house, my house or your house, we don't know. Any fast food chain, McDonald's, Burger King, definitely that's a no. Buffalo Wild Wings. What's wrong with that? No, I would not go to a Buffalo Wild Wings on a first date. I think Wingstop, I think that also really should be part of any fast food chain. Red Lobster, a buffet, IHOP, Denny's. It really seems like there is a theme here of restaurants. What are like people not wanting to go to restaurants for first dates? Soletti here chimes in with, what about our date at a Waffle House? That wasn't actually our first date, Christopher. You and I have had previous dates before. The gym. Actually, I'm not so sure about that. I think that if two people have or that is their thing, I think a joint workout, that's actually not a bad idea. Church. If you're a church going person, I don't think there's anything wrong with that as a first date. Sit next to each other, read some hymns, sing some Bible quotes, do your thing. Starbucks coffee dates. I actually think a coffee date's not a bad first idea. I'm having a conversation with somebody earlier today where they sat there and said that it's okay if the woman suggests that the first date is a coffee date, but it is a terrible idea if the man suggests a coffee date as the first date. I have an issue with that. I think that's a double standard, which I am not so happy with. I think that it's, if you are looking at a male, a female who are both sitting there saying, we want to meet, in a low key kind of environment, then it's kind of okay to start off with a coffee date. Then what do we have here? Ice cream dates. Maybe if you're a little bit younger. Family functions, absolutely no extended family beyond you and the person. Then you got a movie night. Come over to my house. We already had your house, Netflix, Hulu, whatever. That doesn't count. Somewhere that requires a long drive. Relative comment. What defines a long drive? Bowling. I think that bowling is a terrible idea, especially if you live in, I believe it's Lewiston or Lewistown. No, Lewiston, Maine. If you are in Lewiston, Maine, and someone says to you, "Hey, let's go on a bowling date," I believe that that's a terrible idea, and you should say absolutely no to that. And why do you say that that's going to be a terrible idea? Because you may get shot. Then I would say that on the list we have nightclubs. I think that's a perfectly decent first date. Hookah bar. If people are into hookah, some people are. I don't see anything wrong with that. A bar just for drinks. I'm not sure about that. Waffle House coming in at number 27. Listen, we talked about it before. Waffle House. Billy says it's too long since you've been to a Waffle House. Just travel outside of New Jersey. They got Waffle Houses everywhere. Janelle hasn't been to a Waffle House in a while. And Chris Saletti, where does he want to go? Piss porn fetish. Okay, that's his thing. Last but not least is sporting events. I would say that a sporting event is a bad idea for a first date. I think any kind of activity where you are looking for a combined attention at a third party, a third item, movies, sporting events, circuses, orgies, things like that. That's a terrible first date idea. I think on a good first date idea is let's say roller skating. Here we have ideas. So I think roller skating is a good first date activity. Right now, I would say yes. I know roller skating is taking on a third wind. I know it's coming back. I know the kids are getting into it. A lot better than rollerblading because it's easier to balance. But I think if you can hold hands, there's a little physical activity. You can see if somebody is going to, when somebody falls, do they stop, drop, and roll, or do they land on their elbow first, shattering their humerus bone in half, requiring them to basically live in a cast for the next 4 months. I mean, that's the kind of behavior you want to find out on a first date. Apparently, there is a list that's floating around the internet of places that women want to go on a first date. I did not come across that as very easily this week, so I did not pull it down. But I definitely will tell you that a Life of Agony concert or a Spoiler NYC concert, I think that's a great idea for a first date. So if you're sitting there and you see Life of Agony coming to your town, or you're looking through the local music newspaper and you see Spoiler NYC playing in your area, I would say reach out to everybody of the opposite sex or same sex, depending on what your preference is. And I think you should say, hey, listen, We've never gone on a date before, but I believe this is a great idea for a first date. Not saying, any pressure or anything, people, but I think it's a good idea. What else do we have coming up? Okay. The Ritz Carlton is really considered one of the elite places where people are going to, where people go. It is one of the more expensive hotel chains. Recently, unfortunately, a woman staying at a Ritz Carlton outside of San Francisco. She was there to celebrate her birthday with some friends, and had a rather unfortunate incident. Um, Basically, she says that a staffer at the luxury hotel ejaculated his semen into a Ritz Carlton labeled bottled water, and served it to her, according to a lawsuit filed in federal court this past week. The mother of three booked a room at the 5-star Ritz Carlton Half Moon Bay. I don't know if that might be where Ron and his wife are staying right now this week, which would be very tragic. Though I know Ron likes to drink all of the hotel branded bottled water as soon as he gets into a hotel room. That's where he says you make your money as a hotel guest. Anyway, so she checks into the room, and asks the attendant if they can deliver some bottles of water to the room. She was there with her husband. And apparently, during the 4-night stay, she ordered water to her room. She sipped from the bottle in the middle of the night, and she realized that the taste and texture of the water that she had ingested may have been semen. She was mortified, terrified, embarrassed, and humiliated, all according to court documents, but shared her suspicion with her husband, who then contacted the hotel, where rooms start at $800 per night. The Ritz-Carlton sent the bottled water to a laboratory for analysis. That's how you know you're staying at a nice place, where when somebody complains about the water, they have enough of the ability to send their water to a laboratory. They sent the water. The testing came back and did, in fact, confirm that the water contained semen. She's suing the hotel. Apparently, she said that, she and her husband have stayed at Marriott branded hotels at least 600 times, including its Ritz-Carlton properties. Nothing like this has ever happened, though it doesn't say in the story how much she's suing for, because that, I think, is an important factoid. I think that's an important, because you really want to know exactly how much semen is allowable in a bottle of water before you can taste it, before you recognize it, because that's somewhat important. All right, people, we talked about it. We talked about the miniature horse, but now let's actually get into it, because earlier this week, a story floated around the internet of a man named Jad Shipman. I looked for a photo of Jad, Jad Shipman, Shipman, aged 48, who recently ran afoul of the law. He is married. He lives in the state of Washington, and he was arrested earlier this week for offering to pony up over $440 for a lady of the evening to join him and his miniature horse for some fun times. He apparently went onto a website called TNA Board, which is often used for prostitution and other commercial sex purposes, using the username on the site, the Malamute, which is a breed of dog known for its strength and size. He apparently reached out to the women, asking them, I'm not even going to say this. I could, but I'm not going to. It says in the article exactly what he asked this woman to do. Kind of gross. However, I'm going to say that these animals are absolutely adorable. I do not understand anybody. And obviously, listen, people have their different kinks. People have their different interests. Some people are, some people are very vanilla. Some people aren't. But I don't understand somebody who is going to look at this cute little animal here, and instead of rubbing him on its head, patting him on its back, I would even go so far as giving him a squeeze on that rib cage. It looks like he's got a pretty big belly over there. We're going to sit there and see an animal and want to use it for sexual purposes. Absolutely disgusting. If proven guilty, he is looking at several years in prison, as well as several fines. He has has previously admitted to previous sexual contacts with other animals. Jad Shipman, if he ever applies for a job in your office, I would say that you absolutely need to not hire him. Jad Shipman, allegedly, we are going to not allegedly talk about him anymore. What's our next story that we've got lined up? Oh, we are going to go to Amsterdam, which is in the Netherlands, I believe, could be Belgium, where a woman recently claimed on the internet that she performed a sex act on her father at while she was in Amsterdam on her bachelorette party. She claims that she was in a bar slash club where apparently you are allowed to perform sex acts while divided by a wall with complete strangers. She says at some point the wall moved and she was able to look on the other side and see that the man on the other side of that wall was her father. Experts in Amsterdam sex clubs have said that no such establishment exists, that it is from reputable clubs and bars say that if you are going to engage in any kind of sexual activity, they absolutely are. There are no anonymous sex equipment that would prevent this from happening. Absolutely correct right here. The chat's gone quiet, people. I think we're at the hour and 32 mark. And I can only say that I think people have reached the point where they are suddenly wondering if this is the kind of stuff that 100%, this is after dark territory, people, but we're not doing it after dark this week because Ron said no. So what are we going to do? We're doing it during the podcast, but we're keeping it clean. We're not doing anything dirty here. YouTube should have no problem. So basically, we believe that this story has been debunked, that this is not a legitimate story. It's not real. One of the things that people talk about is going overseas for vacations, for illicit services. But one thing you don't have to do if your fetish here is armpit hair. And if your thing is armpit hair, looking at you, Mr. Saletti, if your thing is armpit hair, you are looking at a photo of Fenella Fox, who's from the UK. She is 30 and claims to have made almost $1 million thanks to her armpit hair, which she sells on the internet. She apparently has been spending up to 14 hours a day on the internet live streaming. She's been in the adult industry since she was 18. She's claiming that she makes almost $10,000. You can transfer, into pounds. I think that's what England uses. Yeah, they still use the pounds. They're not on the euro anymore. They're back to pounds. She's claiming she makes $9,500 a month from a combination of social media platforms where she says she has over 1 million followers. And what is the thing that she does? She's been posting images of her body hair online for over 7 years after she became frustrated with the beauty standards placed on women. And those are photos of her. Apparently, she is unable to take a photo of herself without going like this. So I'm going to do this. Da, da, da. Do, do, do. Apparently, I should be able to make $9,000 a month just going like this. Hold on, I'll do it one more time. I don't know, people. This is not the way I wish to make money. Anybody want to go online and see how much she is charging for her OnlyFans? We all for those people who are Patreon subscribers who are familiar with our After Dark, you know exactly what OnlyFans is. Here we have, this is just a stock photo, people. Recently on, we are big fans on this show of the website Reddit. And one of the subreddits is Am I the A-hole? I won't use the word because it's inappropriate. We're keeping this show. This show is family friendly this week. So apparently, in the AITA thread, somebody posted a question of Am I the a-hole? A male employee of where they work. That was a stupid way of introducing it. Male employee sat there and he said that he recently was having a conversation with a female coworker who was putting packets of breast milk in the office refrigerator. She was lactating as she had recently returned from maternity leave. And he made the comment, hey, so what would happen if I were to drink your breast milk? He inquired, to which she replied, excuse me, after he tried to attempt to clarify that it was just simply a curious question. He says, is it okay because your baby is related to you, or would I get sick because I don't have the same bacteria? She replied that she did not know if that was the case. However, she said that she felt uncomfortable and reported him to human resources. Here, we love stories that involve people being reported to human resources. So the question here is he the a-hole for asking his female coworker what would happen if he were to drink her breast milk? I'm going to go with yes, people. And that's not my HR hat on. I'm going to say that if you've got a female coworker who is putting her breast milk in the company office, I'm sure she was using some type of, packaging. I'm sure that it was in some type of general, refrigerated pack. Just sit there and be an adult about it. Don't if she sits there and makes a comment, she wants to introduce the conversation of hey, anybody want to have a taste of this? Okay, yeah, exactly, Allie. Just Google it. Be an adult. Just Google it. There's absolutely no reason. It is a subject where I would imagine that this woman was already uncomfortable having to keep her breast milk in the office. And the last thing she needed to do was to have her male coworkers bringing up what the ability that they might have to have some of it. I don't know if you agree with me. I think he is the a-hole. I'm not even sure I want to do this story. This was a story of rapper, Blueface. I mean, is that a rapper? Anybody know who Blueface is? Apparently, Blueface got engaged to his girlfriend at a LA Rams Steelers game recently at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, and somehow decided that it was a good way to celebrate by hiring strippers so that they could dance in his luxury suite while he and his fiance threw dollar bills at them. Somehow, this is a story. I don't think so. Ladies and gentlemen, you are looking at a photo. I got two more stories, and then we're winding down. We are at the 1 hour and 38. We're at the 1 hour and 38 minute mark. This episode has flown by. Chris Aletti says, I need a haircut. I don't think so, buddy. I think I look just great. You are looking at a photo of her name is going to come up. See, this is why this show is just a little bit better as a two-man show. Annie Knight from Australia. She recently hit headlines in local media when she announced that she has been sleeping with over 300 people in a single year. Claims recently that one of her regular boyfriends found out that they were not in an exclusive relationship and ghosted her, reaching out basically saying that he was no longer interested in her because he found out that she was sleeping with so many people. She got on the internet and said, listen, he didn't realize that he was part of my rotation. I was honest with him when the subject came up, but I didn't feel the need to necessarily bring it up. This is one where I'm going to sit there and say he's kind of correct. I do believe that if you are sleeping with multiple people, I do believe nowadays, especially in a post-AIDS world, you do have an obligation to let the people you're having sex with know that you are not exclusive with them, that you are having sex with other people. I don't believe that you necessarily have any obligation to be exclusive when you are not ready with them. But I do think it is important to let them know, hey, listen, I want you to, want to let you know we are not exclusive and we are continuing to have sex with other people. I'm sure that if he was having sex with multiple people, that he would not be having a problem with her having sex with multiple people. Speaking of sex with multiple people, ladies and gentlemen, let's look at this man with his. This is a lady. This is a ladies kind of guy. I know. Any women watching this are sitting there being like, "Listen, Christmas is coming up. I'm single. I really would like a man. I would like a man who's going to sit on a leopard print chair with his Christmas chair in the background. I'm going to say that this is not the man of your dreams. This is not the man who is going to basically be the father of your children. And the reason why I say this is because you're looking at a photo of Zachariah Andrews. Zachariah Andrews is not going to be the father of any children because he was found dead recently inside the chimney of an apartment building in Nebraska. Apparently, he went missing. He was last seen on September 15th. A month later, officials basically arrived to the apartment building after being called by local residents that there was screaming coming inside of the building. Police officers said they showed up. When they arrived, there was no more screaming. They looked throughout the apartment building. It was empty, so they left. This is where the story gets weird because Andrews' vehicle was parked inside the parking lot of the vacant apartment building. He was reported missing on October 3rd, and this past week, an investigator arrived at the building after local residents complained of a malodorous smell coming from the building. And they sat there and said, listen, this building stinks. The police went back and they actually found Zachariah Anderson's body inside of this, inside the chimney of this building. No idea, people, how he got into the chimney, why he got into the chimney. It really made no sense. What was he doing in there? We don't know. But unfortunately, I mean, if you can only imagine somehow ending up stuck in a chimney, screaming for help for days, and people showing up to try to help you. But unfortunately, you were either passed out or sleeping when they did show up because they heard nothing left, and then you eventually died. What a tragic story. But there's only one more tragic than Zachariah Anderson, and that is going to be my ability to understand how to show a video file here on on this on this podcast. So we are going to do locks of the week. I'm going to play it now. We are going to do locks of the week.
Locks.
Okay, so Ron has sent me a video. I have not watched it yet. It supposedly comes from his undisclosed location, and we are going to see if this thing shows up. Here it is. Let's see.
Buenos noches, everybody. Hope we're all doing well back on the mainland. Brian, congrats to you. I mean, I know you already just did a 23-minute soliloquy on your perfect locks of the week from last weekend, but congratulations on remaining perfect. I will be excited to see you all again next Sunday night when I am back stateside. But in the meantime, here's my locks of the week for week 9 in the NFL. I am loving Kansas City minus -2.5 versus the Miami Dolphins. And then we've got the Baltimore Ravens -4.5 against those Seattle Seahawks. So be well, everybody, and we'll catch you next Sunday night.
That bastard. So apparently he is in Acapulco. You could see from the background the devastation that has been wrought by Hurricane Otis. Locks of the week. People are wondering, how did we do? Well, I'm happy to report that Ron did. Ron went 2-0 this past week. His games, he bet he had, just, it was easy. It was so simple. 49ers laying 6 over the Bengals. Ron looked at this and said, Jesus, we know exactly what's going to happen here. Ravens -7.5 over the Cardinals. Ron basically laughed in the face of Vegas over this line. I myself, I also went 2-0. Jets were laying 2 over the Giants. Jets winning 13-10. I like to pick those games that are just going to be a sliver slice over the line. I also went with the Jaguars -1.5 over the Steelers. I like the Steelers this year, but they were not going to beat the Jaguars. Jaguars win the whole game 20-10. Ron right now is 16-0 for the season. I myself just trying to keep up with him, also 16-0. We go to week 9. My 2 locks of the week. I got the Rams -1.5 over the Packers. I also have the Steelers -4 over the Titans on a Thursday night. There's nothing like a Thursday night football game. I'm a big fan. Not everybody does. A lot of people sit there and say, listen, we do not like a Thursday night football game. I do. Some people don't even like sports. Saletti over here saying sports. He's allowed to do that. Do we have any more stories? No, I think those are all the stories that we wanted to get to this week. Let me check my notes. I think we're done here, people. Oh yeah, we got, what are you watching? Hold up. We are not done. Let me pull up. What are you watching? What are you watching? What are you watching? I would like another beer. What are you watching? Okay, I watched a terrible movie this weekend while I was up in Boston called Ma, where's the meatloaf? Ma. It starred, it's on Netflix. It stars, hold up, let me get her name. Octavia Spencer. This woman is a Oscar winner. For those who, also starring Juliette Lewis, who should have been an Oscar winner for her role as Mallory in Mick and Mallory. Hold on a second. What was the movie? Natural Born Killers, which is just a great movie. So she was in Natural Born Killers. And she's in this movie Ma. So the idea of Ma, it is a story of a bunch of high school, and I'm going to spoil this. So if nobody wants spoiler alerts, or you're sitting there saying, I would like to watch a movie that gets 5.6 out of 10 on IMDb, please watch it. However, if you're okay with spoiler alerts and you don't want, and you don't care, then I would say right now, just go with keep listening to the show, because I'm going to ruin this movie and I'm doing you a favor. So the story of Ma, yeah, Janelle says this movie did not get good reviews, and there's a reason for it. So the plot line of this, it's a movie where, but I'll give you the tagline just so that you guys can see just the lunacy. A lonely woman befriends a group of teenagers. Hold on, I'm going to start. Let's do this one more time. Let me get a drink of water. In a world where a lonely woman befriends a group of teenagers and decides to let them party at her house, just when the kids think that their luck couldn't get any better, things start happening that make them question the intention of their host. All right, that's tagline number 1. Let's try this one. We're going to try tagline number 2. In a world where a woman agrees to buy booze for a group of teens and offers them her basement to party in, but her hospitality soon turns into obsession and terror. This movie was so fucking atrocious. And it literally, that is the plot of the movie. It is a bunch of teens are standing outside of a liquor store in their bumfuck town, and they are sitting there trying to figure out if they can get some booze. They're offering strangers walking into the store to see if they can, what do you call it, if they're okay with them, if somebody's going to buy them the drink, bottles of booze. So somehow, like, they're in high school, but somehow they have massive amounts of money to buy like 4 different bottles of booze. Now, keep in mind, I'm not going to sit there and say that I understand where these kids are getting their money. Because when I was in high school, did I have like $80 to buy 4 bottles of booze? And keep in mind, that's averaging $20 for a bottle of booze. I don't know what kind of booze these kids are buying. So I'm going to say they probably walked in there with $100. So these kids are pooling their money and getting $100 of booze. So they're asking some strangers to buy these booze. And what happens? Most people say no. But then Octavia Spencer shows up. She walks by and she goes, listen, I was once you. I remember being your age and trying to get some beer. I'll buy you some beer. So she goes and she buys some beer. They go around. Next day, she's walking by the liquor store. The same kids are there asking her to buy more booze. And keep in mind, these 5 high school kids went through like 4 bottles of alcohol. I don't know how many high school kids are drinking that at that kind of level. By the way, I've moved on to an Amagang. This is a good beer. So then she shows up the second time and she's just like, listen, I don't feel comfortable with you guys just drinking on the street or, drinking where you could get in trouble. Come back to my house. I've got a perfect basement. You guys can hang out there. These kids are like, sweet. So they go into her basement. Keep in mind, I don't know about you, but if I'm like a high school kid and some adult goes, hey, I have a great idea. I'm going to get you some booze. Come out and hang out in my basement where, I'm going to tell you that you're not allowed in any other part of my house but the basement. I'm going to say, this woman's going to try and peg me in the ass. I am not going to be okay hanging out in her basement. So what do? They sit there and go, oh, yeah, of course, this is awesome. So they go back to our house. Next thing you know, her basement becomes the social center of the high school kids' activities. They're throwing parties in her basement. They're blasting music. This lady gets couches. They're playing beer pong, flip cup. They're drinking all this booze. She's got lights throughout the house. It's utterly ludicrous that these high school kids would not think, hey, there's something strange about this lady. We should not be hanging out with this grown adult woman. And also, once again, just because it is modern day Netflix, the friend group is perfectly represented by all the major ethnicities. Felt forced. Anywho. Eventually one of the people in the friends group sits there and goes, this woman seems a little bit, way too interested in us. She is texting us too much. She's, reaching out to us on Snapchat. Why is she so obsessed with us? And then suddenly, the story goes on and on to the point where, spoiler alert, now we're going to ruin the movie. So apparently when she was in high school in the same local town, the cool kids of the group, of the school, basically pulled her aside and tricked her and humiliated her to the point where it was scarred her emotionally for life. And she was unable ever to emotionally recover from it. So she's never really had many friends or whatnot. And, she's always dreamed of being embraced by the cool kids of a high school. Keep in mind, this woman looks to be in her late 40s or 50s. So somehow she's still obsessed with high school kids. So fast forward, keep in mind, it was like an hour 40. It wasn't even a very good long movie. So fast forward. So then, Janelle, have you not figured out exactly what's going on here? I'm at the 1 hour, 54 minute mark. And if you think I've gone this far without being able to say to Ron that I did a 2 hour episode by myself, we're hitting 2 hours, baby. And if you have something you want me to talk about, other than Ma, feel free to make some suggestions. I got 6 minutes, 5 minutes and a half to be exact, that I am going to fill, just because I want to say fuck you to Ron, who basically still struggles to get past 58 minutes by himself. We're not doing that, people. We're hitting 2 hours. So eventually the friends realize she's creepy and things go haywire. Now, this is where it really becomes just complete bullshit, and you can call it where you see it, because finally she drugs all the kids to the point where they are unable, they're immobilized and passed out. She puts a burning iron on one of the kids. She paints some kid his face white because he wasn't. She sews, she takes a girl's lips and sews them shut, apparently because she's let the girl talk too much. It just seems so oddly ludicrous. Then somehow a fire breaks out as these kids are all coming to at the same time. And one of the kids eventually takes what is like I guess like a steak knife. Not that I have any experience with getting stabbed by steak knives. Literally stabs Ma, the name of the character, because she wants all the kids to call her Ma, which is a little weird because all these kids have mothers. So why the fuck would they be okay calling her Ma? So one of the girls stabs her in the back as she's walking around. She falls to the ground. All the kids flee the house as a fire breaks out. Lo and behold, Ma stands up. She's not dead. She got stabbed, but she's not dead. And I can speak, somebody who can speak from experience. When you get stabbed in the back, you're not dead. You're going to live. You're going to bleed out a lot, but that doesn't mean you're going to die. 3.5 minutes I have left. We're still going. And I would love a topic if somebody wants to throw a topic up for me to talk about for 3 minutes. But I'm going to still talk about it. So eventually the fire breaks out. All the kids escape. Ooh. Maybe I shouldn't have done the 2-hour show. Next thing you know, they show Ma walking through the house, looking out the window to kind of say goodbye to the kids. Does someone bail Ma out? No. Ma is in the house, waving to the kids, smiling at them, kind of saying like, it's okay. I'm all right burning to death in this house because this is all for the best. But the important part is, the woman is just literally does not have any beads of sweat on her body. 2 minutes and 40 seconds, people. So as somebody who's a sweater, I know that like I basically get out of the shower and take 3 steps and I'm already perspiring. This woman took a steak knife to the back to the point where it caused her to hit the floor and pass out. And somehow her skin, when they do that close up, Ma, Octavia Spencer, her skin just crystal dry, absolutely dry, like somebody had just dotted it with blotter. And she's not breaking a sweat because she can take a stab and basically not have a problem, which I think is bullshit if you ask me. Excuse me. That's not the way it's going to go down, because it just doesn't make sense for that. I'm looking for this has got to stop. Hold up. And I cannot find the video for it, but here we go. Nope. Got it wrong. It's not the video, but somewhere in here is the outro, which I do hope to have at some point. This has got to stop. All right, people. We are ending episode 277. I hope you had a good time. I do want to appreciate all the people that played a part in making this happen. First and foremost is my girlfriend who got me here on time. It's never fun driving in the rain. It's never fun dealing with me when I start to get stressed. And she got me here on time so that we could have a technical error-free episode. Here's Allie. To quote Linda Richmond, the progressive era was neither progressive or an era. Discuss. Unfortunately, Linda Richmond, I believe, is Mike Myers' character on Saturday Night Live. tell me I'm wrong on that one. First and foremost, I want to thank Milady for making sure that I got here on time to do this episode by myself. Secondly, I want to thank you. I want to thank everyone that spent the past 2 hours with me. I really appreciate it. So I know some people checked in, checked out. I appreciate the time you spent. I know some people spent the entire 2 hours hanging out, chiming in. The comment section this week were absolutely, you guys kept me going. Watching the comments, knowing you guys were watching, I want to thank you. It was a great episode. I sure as hell had a great time. We hit a lot of topics. We hit all the good bits. I want to thank Ron for not being here so that he knows that the next time he needs to do a solo show, that if he can't break 2 hours, then he's just not a man, and he can go fuck himself. Thank you very much. Hold on. I'm going to put back our banner so people know exactly that this is the Ron and Brian Show, episode 277. Do not forget, a week from today, we will be doing our Election Day special, where Ron goes through all of the local election candidates. I personally, it's the most thrilling episode that I know of, where Ron really shows you his love of local politics. Some people don't really, think that it's a good use of Ron's time. He insists on doing it every year. I know 2 years ago, he spent 45 minutes dealing with the 3rd district of Missouri, where Representative Tom Anderson was going up against Democratic challenger Mikhail Putinsky. And Ron really was able to show just, issue by issue where these two stood, such that I think we all understood that Tom Anderson was the right candidate for re-election. So glad he won again. People say that the Ron and Brian podcast, election swing, has the same amount of sway in the political world as Sean Hannity. Who am I to say that's not true? But thank you for joining us. For those who have not, this may be your first time watching the show. We do this every Sunday night. We stream live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. We also have our social media listed. We are on X, Twitter, whatever the fuck you want to call it. We do have a Facebook page, YouTube. I myself are on all of them. Thank you, I want to say, for joining. If you're not already currently joining, if you're not currently following us, please do us a favor. Follow us on YouTube. Like us, subscribe, tell your friends. Do the same thing on Facebook. We are so close to being able to monetize this show. I think they say you need about 1,000 subscribers. We're getting very close to that number. So if you know people who are not subscribed yet and you think that they would be a fan of the show, reach out to them. Say to them, hey, listen, here's a podcast that I think you'd like. Maybe this is the episode that you would show them. I don't know. I don't want to assume anything. I don't want to say, listen, maybe because Ron's not here, this is the episode that more people would like. I don't know. By the way, I really just do appreciate it. Thank you for joining me. This is episode 277. I want to say goodbye. I want to thank you all. Have a great day, and I will see you a week from today. Hopefully by that point, Ron will have been back. Thank you, and I appreciate each and every one of you.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com. See you again next week.